Good evening. It's a little after 5:30. We're going to go ahead and open our tentative budget hearing. Commissioner Stapleton's going to open us with the invocation and the pledge.
Let us pray. Lord, we come before you today to do the business of the county. We ask you to help us make wise decisions. We also ask you to look after the Bahamian people, take care of them in their time of need. We ask you to look after our country and all the first responders that's ready to protect us and our way of life. Do this in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Mr. Baker's going to come on up to the podium and open up the hearing for us.
Mr. Chairman and other commissioners, this is the tentative budget hearing for the it's a 2019-2020 budget year. Your proposed tentative millage is at 9.0000 mills. And you have a tentative budget of $94,751,975. The rollback rate is 8.8340 mills, and the proposed millage rate is a 1.88% increase from the rollback rate.
All right, thank you, sir. At this time, we'll open the public hearing for any constitutional officers that need to approach the podium and have any questions, comments, requests for changes. Seeing none, we'll go on to outside agencies. Are there any outside agencies? Hearing none, we'll move on to county departments. I know we have one.
The short version, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I need some money. Just wanted to bring to the attention of the county that, as you know, we kind of brought before the board the 2020 census, and it's something that has been kind of tasked to my office to handle. And we're meeting. We've already met, and we're going to be meeting again in a couple of weeks. The one thing that we didn't address is we didn't really fund that committee. And working with the Census Bureau, that's one of the things at this next meeting we're going to be working on is what we can spend our money on. And of course, to do that, we kind of need a little money to be able to spend it. So don't want to throw anything that's going to derail anything to keep it simple. But I just wanted to make you guys aware that we really didn't fund this committee. So and we have to have a few dollars to actually do our job. So.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
How's it calculated?
The Census Bureau, the recommended average is about 50 cents a person. And looking at about 45,000 people, that's somewhere around 22,500 for the county. That again, some communities fund less than that, some fund more than that. That's just their recommended average. If you weight that out to what we're looking at, this census will affect us over the next 10 years. So we do need to try to do a good job at it, because I think we were at 70%. If we can raise those points up from 70% to maybe 80%, that's getting another 4,500 people counted. That can relate to millions of dollars each year over the next 10 years. So I'm not giving you my recommendation. This is new for me, but that's what they recommend. So, and in my current budget, there are a few dollars left in there that won't be spent this year, but we really won't be spending any money until the next fiscal year, towards the end of this year, and in the spring is when most of those items will hit. So I just want to be sure you guys are aware of that. And however we can work it out, whether you give me 50 cents or $50, we'll make it work. But we are going to need a little funding in that to get these people counted.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and Jimmy, correct me. We talked about this at the Development Authority a couple of weeks ago. Jimmy had brought it to the attention of that board. I think they showed some interest in helping out with funding that. I just don't believe it's that much.
No, sir. We did have some conversations at that meeting, and there was some interest in contributing some dollars to the committee. But I think they were thinking maybe a few $1,000s. They certainly weren't thinking
Right.
$20,000. So, but there is a little help on that side. I think that they would be willing to do, as long as our attorney's sitting here, as long as he says that's legal.
From both boards.
Yeah, Rick,
He was there too.
So, but
So are you making a request of what, 25,000? 22,000?
it would be 22.5 would be if we took the 45,000 people at the 50-cent mark. So that's what it would be. And again, that would be completely for the census.
I don't know if we got a little
Mr.
help.
Chairman, could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Jimmy, I don't know what you had planned on spending next year, but in the green bar, the money that you've got left over currently shows about 38,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. We will be spending 30 of that line item on the approval that we had last week on the marketing piece. So, but I will have that, most of the rest of that will be left. Plus, in a few other categories, there should be 13, 14,000 left, probably, if you take some of those other line items, including that one.
So if we had 10, that'd still leave you with some extra. If we took 10 of that,
Yes, sir.
you'd still have extra, and that would take care of what you're projecting it as expenditures for next year.
Right, yeah, if there was a way we could roll that amount into,
So if you took 10 of that, you'd need to come up with another 10, maybe.
Yeah, I believe the other board's going to do 2 or 3.
yeah, I think Development Authority is looking at a few thousand they could help us with. So, right, if we had about 10 left, if we can roll that over for me to use this next, because we won't spend it in this fiscal year.
If they take 10, you'll have whatever's left.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just clarification. You said you're going to be using this money to help get more people in any way, shape, or form, any way you can. Obviously, that sounds like it'd be an advertising campaign.
Pretty much.
Pretty much that's what it's going to be.
That's what, we're not tasked with counting people. We're tasked with getting the word out to the communities, and trying to be sure everybody is aware, so that they'll sign up. And again, this is going to affect us for the next 10 years. So, whatever you guys want to put into it is what I'll have to work with. So certainly don't want to put anybody in a bind up here at all.
This is a promotional campaign, and it's money well spent. I can tell you, I was just looking at a short sheet that I had at the office earlier. I was actually trying to find the top of my desk, and I was shuffling some papers around, and I had a list there that showed it in the past 8 or 9 years, we've brought in like $65 million, and that's in roads and outright grants. So we've been real aggressive about pursuing grants, but the entities that we're pursuing those with are the ones that are looking at our head count. It's really important to me that we continue to give them or actually improve on the picture that we've given them in the last.
Yes, sir. If you look at that, and then, it affects the programs at the school, and
That's what I was,
like you
that's what I was fixing to say. The population count don't just affect us, it affects the school. Like, I believe it affects the health department, don't it, Kerry? I mean, the funding for
Yeah,
just about
affects-
everything's tied to the census.
Absolutely. It's all tied to the census, and even, Eddie and I were talking about when he applies for grants, those census numbers affect him when he's applying for grants for.
And the fact of the matter is, if they undercount, we still have to service
Yes, you
the
still got to pay
population.
for it.
If they
That's right.
count 45,000 and we got 55,000, we're still going to have to service 55,000 with the money for 45.
Yes, sir, that's
So,
right. I mean, we've got to
me, it's
take,
worth the 22 or 25 to go ahead and fund it and get the advertising campaign out.
And again, this will be something that'll be over pretty much the next 6 months is when all the promotion will take place. The count will start April 1, so by then you've kind of done what you're going to do.
You know how you're going to get there? You're going to do the 23 plus 2? Or are you going to take 10 out of that budget and make up the difference? The only reason I'm asking is because if you allow me to sign off on the expenses, then all they have to do is forward that stuff back to me, and we can just do a not to exceed 25 total, if that's what you want to do.
That's fine with me, but do we need to take it out of this year's, the contingency we're working on now, or current year's budget, is what you're saying?
You could take 10 out of the current, because it's showing 38 on the green bar
Right.
right now. That would leave plenty going forward and give Jimmy the difference to spend next year.
I'm fine with
Plus
that.
whatever extra he was talking about that I'm not familiar with.
There's just a couple line items that we're not going to hit. Just for instance, like fuel, things like that weren't being used for most of this year. That
Big savings in travel.
yeah,
That's what
exactly.
he's trying to say.
Well, I'm fine with y'all are with, let's taking 10 out and budgeting another 15.
Yeah, I would like to do at least 15.
Yeah, so
Additional.
25 total, whether it be 10 from this
More
year.
than that, wouldn't it, by the time he gets funding from,
Well, not to exceed 25, that may be inclusive of that funding that's coming in, it may not be.
We just don't need to run short on this.
Yeah, I just, that board hadn't met, and it's not guaranteed that that funding's coming in.
No, they just mentioned the timing of meeting with them.
Right.
Commissioner Hill was there versus the timing of this board. Actually, we were able to discuss it there first, but at that point, Ms. Jennifer hadn't come here, and we hadn't had that meeting yet for her to give us this information, so we couldn't give them the exact information. But I have spoken to them to some degree, and I know they're willing to help some, but they're not thinking, I don't think they really realized what we were talking about. It was just kind of a light conversation.
Jimmy, when you done those calculations, don't you remember what that number was, that every additional person you got to some,
Well,
I
they
mean, they don't give you exact, but
they
I'm
don't
saying.
give you exact, and if you remember from the presentation the other night, I think she kind of give you a number between $1,400 and $1,800, and that was purely, she kind of said, don't quote me on that, but because they don't narrow that down, it depends on the big pot they have divided by everybody in the country.
My point is, we don't have to get but a handful of people and we pay for what we just spent, and we need to be getting hundreds extra, but just saying.
We were at 70%. We'd certainly like to, man, it'd be great if we could gain 10%. I mean, that, if you multiply that out, that can add up to a lot, so.
I support what you said, Mr.
All right, so is that 3 to move 15?
You still have to vote on it after the changes,
Okay.
right? Ma'am? In the tentative hearing, don't they have to vote on this instead of consensus?
Yes, ma'am.
After we close the public comment? We're rolling 10 and taking 15 from contingency is what y'all are going to vote on.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify that the language is going to say, it's going to give a top-end number regardless of how much money you get from other agencies. Still be 25,000. Does that sound right? That's what you had mentioned just a moment ago.
Well, not to exceed 25,000, but I was thinking not to exceed 25 on our end. If we got others coming in, then I would say keep going with it. Because
Anything over the 25, that what we give?
I'm just saying not to exceed 25 on our end. If we get more money coming in from different agencies, that's just icing on the cake, is the way I would think.
That's extra for them. I agree with that.
Okay.
I don't, Mr. Chairman, I don't disagree with you completely on this, but I have not heard yet any kind of a plan.
Well, that's because
You don't have a plan.
don't have a plan. The next meeting that we're
I have
having,
no money, so that right now there is no plan, so.
Do you have any inkling of an idea of what you would be doing to advertise?
They have, yes and no. When we met, there's a whole list of ideas and ways that they have gone about it in other communities, and that's what she's here for, to help us But the first criteria was, I need to know what we have to work with, so then we can put the plan together. I mean, there's everything from marketing materials, projects that go into the school systems, libraries, health departments, books, shirts.
They have a
I mean,
host of
they have.
recommendations, but a lot of them are limited on the amount of funding you have.
Yeah,
I get that.
and you know, like I say, Commissioner Gamble was privy to a lot of that stuff too, but they have plenty of ideas for us that they've already tried. It's just, you know, she's here to help us with that depending on what we want to put into it. So, I don't know if that kind of answered what you were,
But that's okay.
I can't tell you what I'm
Can't
spending it
answer.
on yet
Apparently,
because,
you've answered the question when you said you don't have a plan. Really, you don't have a cost, idea of cost, total cost. What I don't want to do is short you a couple $1,000s, and then you not get that money from anywhere else. That wouldn't make any sense.
I would think we could
Just
make
on
this
language.
work. I really do. I mean, we're going to be very frugal with this and we're going to try to touch as many people as we can, but.
Okay.
But she felt like we could make this happen if we could get to that number, and I trust what she's
And that
telling.
number was 25?
50 cent a person is what she said she would
25.
recommend.
Okay.
But that's 45,000 at 70% accounted, so. Isn't that what you said?
Wait a minute, sir.
Did you say we were only at 70%? So-
Well, at 70% is the graph she showed us the other night. We were 70% on the 45,000. So if you increase it by 10%, if we could touch that many people, increase it by 10%, that's another 4,500 people. I mean, you guys can do the math, so, you know.
Okay.
But again, she's not going to tell you that.
So you have to, Mr. Pravat, you said we have to vote on this after we close public comment?
We need to roll it in. You can either do it now or it just be an addition afterwards. But if you roll it in as part of what you're doing, you know, if you're going to take it from contingency or whatever, that'll be the tentative, how you're going to spend it in the budget part for tonight, and then we can do the final, or you can just wait and do it afterwards. It's up to y'all, either way.
I thought it would just be a change before the tentative vote,
The
and
amount of the number of 94,751.
that doesn't change.
975, that's not going to change.
No,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
it's just moving lines within the budget.
Yeah.
No. I'm fine with just recommending from 3 or 5 and moving on, voting on the tentative, if we
And
can.
that's fine.
Okay. Y'all fine with that?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Everybody good with that?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, sir. You got that
So they can
change?
go ahead and vote.
So we're taking 15 from contingency.
I mean, not right yet, no.
That's
Not right
what's,
yet.
that ultimately is what's going to happen.
It's ultimately what will happen.
15 will come from contingency, and then the other 10 will come out of that line in that advertisement line.
Okay.
So we'll just create a new line that'll be funded with that amount. It'll be the Nina and Randy line.
Consensus
Mr.
line.
Pravat's sitting over on the end now. I see that.
Public, anyone from the public wishing to speak or make a comment on the budget? Hearing none at this time, we'll close public hearing. All right. Is there any other changes that need to be made to the tentative budget?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I do want to bring up one thing. Last year, we purchased a piece of property for tax deed sale down in Branford. We've cleaned that property up, and I'd like to get it off our books, get it sold. It's been recommended that we do some work on it so that we can get it in not only sellable condition, but also in occupiable condition. And that involves a budget. So I am recommending that we take, based upon my conversations with the administrator, take $20,000, that we add it to that part to get this thing fixed up. And the idea behind this is this: if we can sell it for, let's just say $75,000, we've got about $24,000 into it, then we take the rest of that money that we made and chip seal that road. Did you say no? Don't chip seal it
With banked curves.
with bank curves.
Yeah.
Well, I
She's the one that
understand.
wears out that dirt
My-
road sliding when she comes
My
and goes.
thought was that community's been dealing with this piece of property for years, with drugs and with other problems, with junk. I just wanted to be able to get back. If the community doesn't want a chip seal, we don't have to use it for that. But I want to get it moving and get it done. I think the best way to do it is get it in the budget.
I'm familiar with the property, but I'm not familiar with the project.
Got a double-wide mobile home on it that needs a lot of cosmetic stuff inside.
I know which one it is. I haven't been inside of it or anything. I know last time I was by it was boarded up. Are we better off to fix it up and sell it, or just go ahead and put it on the market and sell it?
I think if we put 25,000 in it, we're going to get a whole lot more for it, and we could put that money towards something else that we want to do. What I don't want to do is get a derelict in there that wants to spend very little and come in and turn into the same garbage that had to be dealt with there before.
I got you.
Selling garbage attracts garbage sometimes. Did I say that? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a mess
Any
before.
comment from y'all? Y'all got any?
I'm not familiar with the property, so.
I haven't seen it other than the conversations we've had about it.
I haven't seen it.
I don't mind coming back after this budget hearing and asking for an amended budget or something. I don't know however we do it to put the project in place afterwards. I just felt like it's probably just as good a time as any. Bring it up.
I'm familiar with it. I don't have a problem doing it now or doing it later, only because we do need to get it off the tax roll, or back on the tax roll.
Tax roll, yeah.
I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I mean, I'll go off what Mr. Harris and what the commissioner says. If they
Yeah.
think that's what we should do, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad move. I'm fine with it.
I mean, we go
20,000
ahead
is
and move
enough, you
forward.
think?
I mean, as long as there's no liability issues on our end, fixing it, selling it, returning it to someone.
We don't have any liability, but it's going to be a better property to sell and hopefully get a decent neighbor in there if we can fix it up some.
Yeah.
Is that a half an acre?
Half an acre?
I don't remember.
an acre at the
It's a sliver. It's a strange little narrow piece of property, but it's a double wide and it's got a garage on it. Then I need to cut part of it off and shorten it some because it's out too close to the road.
Yeah. All right. Y'all okay with that? Y'all okay with 20,000? Fine. Everybody all right with it?
If it takes 25, I'll come back and see you, but I'm guessing right now because
20,000 will do a lot in a double
we,
wide.
we have a
Tell you that
list.
right now.
We've got a list. We've got a list of everything it's going to take, so
You can buy a double wide for 20.
I just go in there and do what we can do.
What road is that, Debbie?
We may just ought to make it 15 and let him stretch it.
85th or 80th. Yes.
Yeah.
Say it again, sir. I didn't hear you.
I said we may ought to just
Don't
make it
do that.
15 and let him stretch it. Trying to get most we can for
I
him.
like
can't-
even numbers like that.
Right.
Can't sprinkle water on that one and make it grow.
Y'all remember that one? That's the one that had about $80,000 worth of liens on it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember when he came back?
I remember the conversation about it.
I
Yeah.
remember, I just haven't
Yep.
ever seen that.
Okay, yeah,
I remember what you're talking about, yes. sir.
okay. Yeah.
I think it was more than that. The sheriff said he looked up record, and it was an ungodly a number of calls, let's put it that way. Yeah.
You got that, Nina?
Yes, sir.
15.
Any other changes to the tentative budget? Hearing none, do I have a motion to vote on the tentative millage rate?
Make a motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Stapleton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, do I have a vote to approve the tentative budget? Or a motion?
Motion.
Who was that? I'm sorry. Got a motion to approve by Richardson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, this time we'll close the tentative budget hearing. We got 1 minute before the board meeting starts. Thank y'all.